mask on. My name is Aadil Bandukwala. Lovely seeing you all today. It's good to see SaaS faces finally in Bangalore. It's been a long time. We haven't got a lot of people together in a room like we have today at this particular venue. So I'm pleased to be talking to you about driving pipeline momentum in 2023. What I mean by that is how do you accelerate your sales funnel by really working with marketing. My whole thesis is that in most firms, marketing and sales don't work together. If you understand a little bit of Hindi, marketing खुद का अपने आप अपना ही फूकता रहता है हमेशा, and they think they are like killing it, but actually there is not a lot of alignment between marketing and sales. So the intent was just to kind of give you a sense of what's happening in the market, the way I see it, and then I'd love to interact. So the goal is in the next 10 to 12 minutes, can I finish this presentation really, really quick? And then we can leave the rest for Q&A and interaction. Because otherwise, I don't want to bore you for all 30 minutes. So probably finish this in 10, 12 minutes, and then we'll do Q&A. That works? Is that okay? Yeah. Hey, cool. Let's get started. So here's what I see as the problem statement. Question for all of you is, in today's defensive market, where there's funding winter, where buyer readiness is not there, where people are short on budgets, and people are just not willing to commit dollars, how do you combine marketing automation, buyer psych, and content for demand gen success? So the intent to discuss today is we'll take a look at the macro view, what's happening in the world. We'll talk about what goals for B2B SaaS teams should be today. The difference between a marketing campaign versus a sales pipeline. I don't think there should be anything called a marketing campaign. All campaigns should be called sales campaigns because that's the way we're going to drive revenue. So we'll talk a little bit about that. How do you transform MQLs to SQLs in the same day? Can that happen? An MQL gets triggered today. The very same day, can that convert into an SQL? What I mean by that is, an MQL gets triggered today. The same day, our SDR qualifies it, converts it into an SAL. The sales rep gets on a call, understands that buyer has auqat, as in they have money to commit. 2, they are willing to buy. 3, there is a genuine need. That is when it turns into SQL. Can that happen same day? Because that is what is required as need of the hour. And eventually, is there like a 6-step framework that you can use to run things fast? Because everyone wants to ship things fast today. Okay? So here's the macro view, the way I see it. This is this 3x3 that McKinsey put together, which is called Scenarios for 2023. Aap le lo. So Scenarios for 2023 and beyond by McKinsey and Company. So it's got this 3x3, where if you think about it, 6 of those scenarios that can potentially happen are dark scenarios. What I mean by that is if you look on top, it says they've come to this analysis by figuring out how government spending on recent based incentives are targeted and how central banks are shaping financial conditions. These are strongly also influenced by current political scenarios. Okay? So 6 of those put us into a dark or a deep recession, while 4 potential outcomes put us in a mild recession scenario, which means that there is absolutely no positive outlook. The markets are looking very defensive and bleak at the moment. Second, analysts expect revenues to rise, but earnings to fall. Meaning every company, their revenues are scaling, people are still able to maintain their ARR or scale their ARR, but their profitability is dipping because it's taking that much more to save a customer. You're giving more discounts, you're spending more on campaigns, you're spending more on customer delight, spending more on prospect acquisition so that you can meet your goals. So therefore, earnings are kind of taking a hit. 3, what is happening is, I'm sure people like Sharath feel this and people in the room. I hear that sales guys are telling me, give me the confidence of a salesperson cold emailing startup employees for private jet memberships. Think how hard this scenario is today, right? There is, unless you're in Flipkart, unless you're in PhonePe, where ESOPs are being credited in a day or two and people are going to buy real estate left, right, and center. But a lot of the others today are struggling to spend anything. And nobody's buying private jet memberships today. And imagine the job of a cold emailer working in sales there. It's really, really hard. So it's like a mission impossible scenario. But all those are market realities. But here's also a very interesting market reality by Gartner. The SaaS industry is projected to grow to its largest annual growth
this year, 2023, and it's going to end this year at 195 billion. So we're saying the markets are defensive, but overall the SaaS industry is growing. So as a marketer or a sales guy, I can't complain. If the CEO tells me that, hey, the TAM is expanding, then how can I go and say that the market is shrinking? That's opposite, right? So then you're saying if the TAM is expanding, where is the TAM expanding? If you think about 3 key markets, China, India, Brazil, which is LATAM. These markets are expected to grow twofold in 2025, which means a lot of us are actually focusing on building US GTMs. We're trying to scale GTMs in the US. But at the same time, there's massive opportunity here. Just that the buyer persona is very, very different. So we need to figure that out. And the next 18 months actually are the best time to start a company in the last 14 years. Because great companies are not built with cheap capital. They're built with exceptional talent. So if you're able to recruit great people, this is like an incredible time to start a company. How will you do that? The reality is that you'll have to do it by being ferociously frugal. So this is where the market narrative ends now. Now the actual work starts. So let's talk about that. So what does this mean for SaaS companies? This means that these are your typical buying mechanics now for B2B SaaS companies. Earlier, if you were trying to sell to an SMB, your typical sales cycle would be 1 month. From the time you interact with the customer to the time you take the deal to closure. Yes, sir?
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Will you be sharing? This is fantastic. Will you be sharing?
Jugal, can you all, you don't, the deck is with SaaS Insider, they'll share with you. So the buying, so earlier what used to happen in SMB, let's say a lead came to me today, I'm an SDR, I immediately pass it to the AE tomorrow, the AE does a meeting the same week, in 3 weeks you can take it to closure, $10,000 to $15,000 in your pocket in a month. That's how you would forecast, or potentially sooner as well. Now, because of the buying mechanics have changed, this sales cycle is dragging to 3 months. It's not 1 month anymore. Secondly, the buying center used to be 1. You used to speak to the founder of the company and you'd close. Now this is expanded to 2 people. The founder also wants another view because he just doesn't want to spend together. Second category, mid-market. So when you look at mid-market, earlier it used to be 2 or 3 buying centers. Now there are 5 buying centers. The CFO is involved in every single conversation. Procurement is having the time of their life today, because everything is being looked at with a fine-tooth comb and their jobs have become super strategic, which were otherwise not that strategic. It was a very transactional job. So here what is happening is your sales cycle typically used to be 3 to 5 months. What we're seeing is mid-market sales cycles are now long to 6 to 9 months. And then when you come to enterprise, this is where like everybody's facing the brunt and it's really, really hard. Typically in 6 months you used to close a deal. Typically 3 buying centers. Now it's anywhere between 6 to 12 buying centers. You have to pitch again and again to multiple people, get them to a consensus and eventually buy. And then your sales cycle is gone to 12 plus months, which is killing us because then all your unit economics go out of the window. Here's the problem. I think everyone in sales and marketing today is focusing on the last 2, which is buyers in market. You know, if I interact with most CROs, if I interact with most CMOs, they'll say, yaar, MQL attainment is X and SQL attainment is Y, and therefore my pipeline acceleration is 4X. It should have been 6X, but my revenue impact is so and so. That's what they talk about. But people have stopped talking about leads because they're like, array, that's top of the funnel. My inbound team will take care of that. So the inbound team is not strategic anymore. But I think that needs to change. Because everybody is focusing only on buyers in market, which is people who are aware about your product and people who are ready to buy, they are missing out on the TAM. And therefore, you are attacking a very small piece of the market and not the entire TAM. So I think it's super important to kind of attack your entire TAM. So why am I saying you've got to attack your entire TAM? Because you have to build buyer readiness. In today's market, buyers are just not ready to buy. So if you want to build buyer readiness, what are a few things you need to do? I think you need to do 4 things. There are buyers in 4 stages. 1, people who have no clue you exist. Classify them in the unaware bucket. 2, people who are aware that they have a problem. Saying that I have this problem today that I'm not able to meet revenue targets. That's a problem. So that becomes the second category. The third one, they are aware about your solution, but they have no intent to buy. And the last one is they are aware about your product. So your solution is the category in which you serve. Your product is actually what you sell along with your brand. So there are these 4 stages. Now you've got to do whatever it takes to convert people from one stage to the other. Push the unaware guys into problem aware. Push the problem aware into solution aware. Put the solution aware into product aware. Put the product aware into the sales funnel. Now, how are you actually going to do that?
So how do you build buyer readiness? You can do it by two ways. One, you got to package the right messages into appropriate content formats. When I say content, it's not just like assets. It's more about even enabling your sales team to go ahead and convince people. At the same time, it could be different avenues that people interact with you or your teams. Second, creating systems that allow prospects to self-qualify in the funnel. Today, what happens is your marketing CRM is programmed in a particular way on an MQL scoring model, which goes and says, okay, this is how people fall into my bucket. But you got to allow or embed your prospects to self-qualify. Question is, how will you do that? By creating different types of content buckets. 4 content buckets. One is unaware content. Here you will create stuff like books, quizzes. You will create stuff like press buzz, very top of the funnel stuff. Second, problem-aware content. You'll do checklists. You'll do webinars. You'll do live streams. 3, solution-aware contents. This is where you do a lot of ROI calculators because people are very, very quizzical about how much will I get. Is this going to cost me my job? Right? Because I'm spending so much on this solution. And finally, product-aware content, which is the dreaded term that marketers hate called case studies because they never get published and it's hard by customers to approve. So let's call them customer stories for a second. But at the same time, comparison pages, use case pages, so on and so forth. Now the question is, you'll say, Aadil, this is theory. Give me examples of who are people who are doing this well. So I'll give you 4 examples. Who does unaware content really well? If you heard of this software called 6sense, which is a popular ABM tool, account-based marketing tool, they do really cool unaware content. So they wrote a book, their CMO wrote a book which sold out ASAP on ABM. This is the book. It's called No Forms, No Spam, No Cold Calls. Kick-ass book, very, very good. I highly recommend you read it. Got sold out. So much so that they had to write a second book. So they wrote, because ABM as a category is still growing and still a lot of people don't know it. Very popular in the enterprise space. In the mid-market and SMB, not there yet. So I think they're doing top of the funnel unaware content really, really well. Second, what's a great example of problem-aware content? Very cool social media company called Sprout Social. Very similar to HubSpot, Buffer, TweetDeck, so on and so forth. These guys wrote one article, one blog post. What was the blog post? Get more Instagram followers with these 10 tips, right? This, after their homepage, this is the second most popular page on the website. Can you imagine? It's the power of simple SEO over a period of time, but using the right content. Everybody wants to grow Instagram followers, right? So very topical, very, very trendy. What does solution-aware content look like? So, brilliant company called ClickUp, which offers templates for everything. Right on the homepage, it gives you a button saying that, so what template do you want? So I'll go and type GTM template, right? So if I GTM template, it says use now. So if I click and use now, it takes me directly into the product and I can start building on it or customizing it for my business. Very, very PLG focused, but it gives you a sense of what the product is immediately. Another great example here is Airtable, because they've got such good content that you can get into it immediately. Another great example here is Canva. But Canva used to be B2C, now they're doing very, very good B2B as well. Lastly, who does product-aware content really, really well? Think about this company called June. June has this simple page where they compare feature by feature of who they are versus their competition. And that particular blog gives them insane amount of traffic and helps them close phenomenal amount of leads every month. So no nonsense approach. Doesn't work for some, but if you have a strong product, this might be like a very, very insightful and helpful technique for you. So I was talking to you, there's a huge difference between a marketing campaign and a sales pipeline. Here's the difference between demand gen and lead gen. I thought we'll just call it out. So if you think about the top of content, demand gen will have always gated content, while lead gen will have ungated content. Demand gen, CTAs are softer, called learn more, while lead gen, they're saying download now. In demand gens, you're always looking for MQLs or later. In similar stuff in lead gen, but they are rather focused on leads. Funnel stage, in demand gen, you're more about awareness and pipeline acceleration, while in lead gen, you're doing more consideration and decision. Right? Demand gen answers the question, why should I change? You're answering like a much more deep-rooted question on a philosophical level. While in lead gen, you're just answering why now. Both are great methods, but both need to be done in tandem. Because if you're helping answer both these tandem, you're helping the buyer gets convinced on a very rational level in terms of what he or she needs to do effective immediately. Demand gen addresses prospects' pain points, while lead gen addresses what are prospects' gains coming from you. So again, while marketing solves for X, sales solves for Y, and you tag team and kind of make this happen. One lesson that I learned from Claire, who's the Senior Director of Marketing at Figma, she says that when you think about gating a product, consider how you can funnel customers towards their magic moment. Like, how does the customer say, holy shit, this is awesome? Right? So for example, when I use Canva, I just search for a template and I'm like, ho gaya yaar, 5 minutes mein, this is brilliant. That's my magic moment. Similarly, if I'm using ChatGPT today, I ask it a question, it gives me crazy answers. That's a magic moment. If you've joined Midjourney's Discord server, or if you've joined ControlNet, which are crazy good AI tools for imagery, one hashtag imagine command and I can just describe whatever I want and I get answers like that. My problems are solved immediately. That's a magic moment. So they've solved it. They've made it insanely painless for prospects and customers to derive whatever value they want. I think today that is required for people to jump on and say, here's my credit card, or sign me up for an enterprise plan, let's just talk. One company which I have no interest in or no association with formally or informally, that I was very impressed with when they were pitching to me, I thought it would be very relevant to this crowd. It's called FlowStack. So typically what happens in B2B is, this is the scenario. You have your website, somebody comes on your B2B landing page, they click on contact us, that turns into a lead. Now imagine you're getting 100 leads a day. Imagine you have 3 people who are your SDRs. By the time the SDR reviews this, gives this person a call back, sets up a meeting with the AE, and the AE actually goes and does the meeting, it's typically at least a week to 12 days. In that time, that lead has gone cold, that buyer has gone soft, he's figured out another solution. What needs to happen is, with FlowStack, let's say I come onto this particular website, I submit my details, FlowStack automatically checks the status of this lead based on qualification rules by integrating with your CRM and qualifies it as an MQL or whatever and assigns an SDR immediately. The SDR immediately gets a notification on Slack. The customer can ask a question in real time. So the customer can ask a question saying that, hey, I want this information. The SDR gets that information in real time on Slack. When the SDR replies back on Slack, the customer sees it on the website. In case the SDR has not seen it, the SDR, as soon as they're back to their desk or their laptop, they pick up the phone, they smile and dial, they speak to the customer instantly, then and there. I think that's a great solution. Most B2B websites don't have this. We are putting chatbots. And nobody likes chatbots. I mean, sure, if they're smart and they do the job, yes. If your revenue is scaling and you're like at a Datadog level doing $2 billion ARR and growing at 30%, that's a very different problem to have. But in this defensive market, when we are not making money, I think tools like this can be a game changer. So I'm saying you need to figure out a way of going from MQL to SQL the same day, and tools like FlowStack can kind of help you solve that problem. So what's like a 6-step framework for speedy marketing teams? And this is one of my last slides to kind of wrap up. 1, put on your black hat to solve large problems. 2, embrace the shipping mindset. Ask your teams every single day, what are you shipping today? What are you shipping this week? The way I run my team is every Monday, one-on-ones with every single member of the team. I don't do team meetings. I believe only in one-on-ones. What are you shipping today? What are you shipping this week? The conversation the following Monday starts again. What did you ship last week? What are you shipping today? What are you shipping this week? Obsess about shipping. Obsess about weekly targets. Establish a bi-weekly learning meeting. Don't discuss what's happening at work. Discuss about how you could improve things. What are game-changing things customers are doing? And then make a decision. In a lot of companies, a lot of things what I call are anath. As in, there are certain decisions that are never taken. They're like, let's park this for now, we'll come back to it. And that never gets done. I think take a decision, agree or disagree and move on. I think that's like super important. So I think like working on pace and frugality is important, but never forget your fundamentals. Typically, figure out what the desire is for your customer, saying that what's missing in their current process. 2, what is your promise to the customer? 3, what is the premise or context? Like they say, right, while content is king, context is King Kong. So that's like very, very important. Figure out what is your difference chunking. What are your shared values? What are your systems? what is the market intimacy at the moment? What is your positioning statement? And if not you, who else is the customer evaluating? If you focus on these fundamentals, I'm sure you've kind of arrived, and that's a wrap. So let's see if you liked it, disliked it. If you all have any questions, happy to interact. Any questions?
So you said MQL to SQL in one day. See, MQL to SQL in one day, you mentioned. See, MQL to SQL is not in our hands. I mean, there are certain marketing qualified leads that are really not sales qualified leads.
Agreed.
So it's not really the problem. I mean, even if we get about, see, as an enterprise SaaS company, if we get about 10 to 15 inbound leads, no, not 10. Maybe, maybe say, let's say,
It's good to be optimistic.
around 5 to 6
Yeah.
good inbound leads in a day.
Yeah.
The challenge at enterprise SaaS is not really to convert them from MQL to SQL in one day.
Yeah.
Because if it is not a sales qualified lead in first place, you really can't do anything. It's the
So again, like I said, it depends on the stage in which the company is. So for example, if you are less than $10 million ARR today, this can be done. I'll tell you how this can be done. So today, let's say I'm a guy, I come on your website, I interact with your SDR calls me instantaneously, and he sets up a meeting with the AE the same day. The AE in 1 hour can figure out if you have the need, a strong need, 2, if you're looking for your tool right now, yes or no, and whether you have budget.
the band.
So then you know that very day with a 90% certainty whether it's an SQL or not. But if you're like a company which has more than $100 million ARR, this is impossible. But I don't think in this room we have any company which is doing more than $100 million ARR. There might be 1 or 2. So that's the premise on which I'm talking. All right, thank you very much, everyone.